I was looking for you. Jack, why? I don't remember.
It's She-Hulk issue 2, and she's seemingly having some of her plot points spoiled over in Dan Slott's Fantastic Four. Greetings, comic lovers, and welcome back to Casually Comics, the channel where we chat all things comics, reviews, comics new and old, history to anecdotes, really wherever our whims take us. We're covering the 2022 She-Hulk series, for now, for as long as it remains fun. For me, and for you. Also, Comixology finally actually merged with Amazon like they said they were gonna do a while back. It happened, and it became Kindle, so now I'm a level 5 hacker after having to navigate all of that. All of this is so time of recording. She-Hulk is being taken back to basics by author Rainbow Rowell, in timing seemingly meant to coincide with her Disney Plus live-action series. Many were thrilled to see Jennifer get closer to her roots after years in her savage She-Hulk persona, which is not the first time she's been taken back to that. One of her last encounters with Jack put her into that persona. It wasn't terribly well received that time either. Let Bruce's thing be Bruce's thing, and Jennifer's thing be Jennifer's thing. So what happened in issue 1? Recap time, and we should be able to do it fairly quickly, because at the end of the day, not a lot of events happened. She-Hulk in her Jennifer Walters form was looking to put her life back together. She briefly fought Titania, and then the two decide to form a fight club, or more accurately having sparring sessions together to blow off steam. She went back to working as an attorney, this time for Mallory Book, and she went to live in the Wasp's apartment, the same one from the John Byrne run, complete with the same 80s couch. How very retro of the Wasp. While reflecting on what she wanted out of her life, she was interrupted when a suddenly alive again Jack of Hearts appeared in her apartment. There's some consternation surrounding the canon of this moment, which we will discuss. For this issue could also be called Jack of Hearts #1, because a lot of it is going to be spent catching readers up on just who is Jack of Hearts, which for many will be necessary. Issue 2 is written as mentioned by Rainbow Rowell, with art by Roge Antonio, colors by Rico Renzi, and lettering by Joe Caramagna. The main cover once more is by Jen Bartel. It's also a pinup, this one in a more office style. Looking chic, you know those bracelets do all the jangling. There are a couple of variants, far less than for issue 1, which is to be expected. She's super cut on this David Nakayama one. We start on a flashback to one of the last times Jack of Hearts was seen, which is accurate when dealing with his deaths and resurrections. One of. Keywords, one of. It's a sequence taken from Avengers 67 from 2003, wherein Jack had accidentally drained the gamma radiation from Jen's body when he attempted to rescue her, and ended up causing her to panic and enter her savage She-Hulk mode. That happened in 68. Remembering this, he tells her not to touch him, showcasing that one of the things he remembers is feeling protective of her, which is one of the kernels laid out in this issue for a potential romantic relationship. Get those shipping goggles on, folks. Affix them to your eyes. The clues are here. One just needs to look. It's more than them just being in the same room together. This time. You need help? Should I call Reed or Hank or Tony? I mean, Hank's dead, isn't he? Unless she wants to call Ultron Pym. Wait, they got separated and Hank's soul is somewhere. Don't call Hank. And yes, he needs help. I'm pretty sure he's bleeding out of his mouth. Jonathan Jack Hart. Jack of Hearts. Connecticut native. Pretty famously dead. That's what happens when you die blowing up Ant-Man. No one remembers your apparent resurrection in Marvel Zombie Supreme, or your first suicide killing Ant-Man's daughter's would-be killer. Jack makes it to the couch and Jen gets him some water, which he doesn't drink, saying he doesn't need to. She's trying to figure out why he's here and what he wants and what happened to him.
I was looking for you. Jack, why? I don't remember.
The first thing he remembers is needing to find her. Goggle point. Ah, I see he was resurrected at peak cuteness this time. And I'm not the only one who thinks so. Look at the Screen Rant title. Scarlet Witch's forgotten victim is back and never looked better. Also, I never forgot Jack. How dare you? I just didn't think about him.
Maybe you should start at the beginning. Beginning. I mean, Jack, the last time any of us saw you, you were dead.
Well, not everyone, but we'll get there.
Maybe I should start at the end.
We then get a recap that summarizes where Jack was headspace-wise during his time on the Avengers with Jen, which does tell the reader some things, but also leaves a lot out. It's the basics of what you need to know, but without the details to fill it in. Jack had been Tony's apprentice, but their relationship was not the best. When Jack's powers started going out of control and he was just absorbing radiation constantly, Tony came to see him as a danger, as a bomb that could go off, and he'd tell Jack this. He would build an isolation chamber for Jack to drain his powers, which over time he came to need to use more and more. As he approached his eventual suicide, he was up to using the room 14 hours a day. So when he describes this period of his life as one of his lowest points, it's pretty accurate. Here's where he was in Avengers 67.
I feel sick.
What?
Sick, but sick mentally. I mean, this whole thing, you know, sometimes I wonder why I stay here. I'm an alien hybrid. My mother was from a place far from Earth. I can survive in space and the cold vacuum of it all. And when I see things like this, it just makes me want to head back out.
There's a reason to stay and fight, Jack. So what's your reason, Jack?
Still trying to think of one. You know the next part.
Maybe. This part cliff notes the hardest of any in the recap. It just says that after he drained her, he had to leave the mansion.
I knew I couldn't stay on the team anymore. I was a danger to you. I was a danger to everyone.
That is an amazingly sanitized version of what happened and may or may not be deliberate. But initially, after he drained the energy out of her and she went full Savage She-Hulk, the team was not impressed. They didn't take it well. In fact, some of them thought that he'd done it on purpose. Jack was abrasive during this period, irritable. He was lashing out because he was losing it being in isolation so much, and also because the process was painful. He described it as feeling as if his cells were being ripped apart. He was also struggling, as seen in that quote, with finding the purpose with anything. And his teammates, Scott Lang in particular, exacerbated this, particularly in issues like Avengers 73.
It's always about you, isn't it, Jack? Want to know why I don't think you're a team player? You only think about yourself. Do you even know what you did to She-Hulk? Yes, You ruined her life. Do you think it's a surprise Tony installed this new time lock on the Zero Room to make sure no one could open it for 14 hours? It's precaution. That's what he said, sure. But I think no one on this team trusts you. Some of us think you did this on purpose. What? I swear, Scott, I didn't know. I didn't. Save it. I don't have to deal with you for 14 hours. I mean, God, I'm sorry.
Jack's powers would ultimately be used to cure Jen by having him go off near her. Scott just grabs him, flies him to where she is, and dumps him on her. Jen is one of the only people who feels for Jack after this and wants to keep him on the team over herself, or at least find a solution where they can both stay. This is when Captain America decides it's not safe to have them both on the team at the same time. Jack keeps going on about how much he misses space and how much easier it would be to just be out there, not thinking. It's when he's talking with Scott when suddenly Ant-Man has to go as a murderer has taken his daughter, and that's when things really escalate. Jack follows and stops Scott from murdering the man in front of his daughter, and also stops the killer when he gets the gun back. He tells Scott he was right. It's all about making the world a better place in whatever way you can. So he flies up to space with this murderer and detonates, killing them both, or so it seems.
It's been a fun game here, but I'm tired too. I know you're waiting for me, Dad. Get ready to deal me in.
She-Hulk 2 describes it as,
so I went into space without Iron Man's treatments. That was it.
So this comic jumps to Jack waking up in some kind of containment cell, his energy being drained, just trapped, before he's able to break free and goes to find Jennifer. This seemingly skips over both of Jack's resurrections. The one in 2004 when Wanda brings him back as some kind of zombified version and he explodes, killing Scott Lang right on the Avengers lawn. This tends to be the death that gets remembered because it's so bombastic. Ant-Man everywhere. But it also skips over Jack's return in Marvel Zombie Supreme #2 in 2011. The debate some are having in fandom is whether this omission was deliberate. Either because Jack's memory is patchy, and if this is meant to symbolize that he isn't the real Jack, or that he is and the other wasn't, or just some kind of shadiness, or if it's an attempt to remove this Marvel Zombies comic from the main canon, or if it was simply forgotten. Marvel Zombie Supreme takes a dark comedy approach to the zombie crisis, when the Squadron Supreme from Earth 712 return to zombies. And issue 2 in particular has a lot of moments like this, such as clear stand-ins for Mom Pa Kent being killed by zombie Hyperion, who is himself a Marvel version of Superman. They linger on it, and it's quite brutal. Miles will vary on how humorous one finds it. A clear stand-in for Clark Kent is killed by him later. And at the end of this issue, Jack is just randomly resurrected, and by the end of the mini, he vanishes. So some feel it's not really necessary to include this comic, as it can be dismissed and not much changes, and perhaps some even feel it may have been a waste to have Jack reappear there in the first place. While others feel it should be included, for canon is canon, and showing that acknowledgement makes the universe feel tighter and like people care. Others feel wait and see, as mentioned it may be a plot point. While others feel some get a bit too pedantic and wrapped up in small canonical inconsistencies like this, and that it can contribute to the negative perception some have of fans as obsessive. Getting into the root of fan is fanatic. I am on many a random hill myself, so I can't judge. I'll wave from my hill. Jack says he found Jennifer because he traced her gamma signature. Since having absorbed some of her energy, he's attuned to her. They're connected. Goggle point. He knows her essence. Also, that's slightly concerning. Jack finds that he needs to drink the water, even though he hasn't really needed sustenance since his accident with the Zero fluid that gave him his powers. Zero fluid covered in it. Absorbing the radiation filled the gaps. He stares directly at Jennifer and says, "I'm thirsty." I mean, aren't we all? And so they then eat some food and have fun hanging out until she brings up contacting Tony. But having a complicated history with him, Jack doesn't really want to. He doesn't feel like Tony would have his best interests at heart. "Jack, I'm not sure you can trust anything that you knew about yourself before. You seem altered. So here they acknowledge that Jack may feel a bit OOC, that's out of character. Though that appears to be deliberate, but Jennifer noticing and commenting on it is a good moment, because for many fans they may not have encountered Jack before or for many years, and so to see that he may be off is important for the audience. Jen says she doesn't feel like Jack is draining her energy as he's trying to leave because he doesn't want to endanger her, but just ends up passing out on her couch. Or well, Jan's couch. That's fine. That's what A's couches are for. The next morning, She-Hulk is ready to get back to law, but not before telling Jack not to leave or space himself because they need to get pizza. She's feeling confident, which means she's green and loving it, and the attention she's getting. Because Jen likes attention, but she likes to be in control of it and how she receives it. There's also an ambulance chaser joke where she sees an ambulance stuck in traffic, so she carries it out and then sticks her card in the back window. I chuckled. And they even return to the bring your own bagel joke from issue 1. But we end rather ominously on the container Jack escaped from, now able to see that there is an obsession board there covered with pictures of Jen. Is there an alternate version of Jack separated his more volatile self? If this is just a Jackal plot and Jack is a clone, I don't know how I'll feel. Not mad. Perhaps disappointed. But what's this about Jack and Jen dating? It's not just the cover of issue 3 that says that's gonna happen. I kind of want it to happen a lot. It's Fantastic 440, where Jen is calling him babe and they're holding hands. And I would rather read their chemistry in this comic. It's sweet and gentle here and lines up with some of their previous characterizations and the type of romantics they are. Well, She-Hulk is a lot more assertive in the romance department. Step on him, She-Hulk. So, issue 2. It's a comic with 2 very prominent truths. It has a lot of character moments and unpacks a lot of Jack's history and sets up more mystery surrounding him. Simultaneously, nothing really happened if you're examining this from an action story standpoint. They sat around and talked and ate some food and then she went to work. From a slice of life perspective though, my word, the Vepas. They ate so much food. This issue, like the first, is setup, only this one is setting up Jack. In fact, Jen takes a bit of a back seat, which is a mileage varies type deal. Some would want her to be more of the focal point, while others will be okay taking the time to explain just who is Jack of Hearts. This issue cements what kind of tone this comic will seemingly have, which for some may be exactly what they hope for, just Jen living her life and having some adventures here and there interspersed with these moments. And some may hope that this gets a decent run to really settle in so that you can have some really big arcs. However, this is not a guarantee and others feel you need to make the most of the amount of issues you get, and that this may not be doing that. And some would simply prefer a more action-oriented style, though that may be coming even though issue 3's cover says otherwise. Jack is straight up winning. Back to life in a sweet A's apartment, setting up a romance with Jen, powers in control. Good time to be Jack. What a time to be alive. If he is Jack. I can see seeing this as a fun character study, where 2 characters have had a rough go of it or seemingly being set up to hopefully have a less rough but still interesting time, or a slog full of filler where nothing happened. Or perhaps you had an entirely different reaction. Tell me about it, I want to hear it. Did you like this issue? Do you like Jack of Hearts? Are you now a firm Jack-Jen shipper? This is the She-Heart? She-Heart. Jack of Hulks. I don't know, what are we calling this? Do you want more action? Well, what's going on with Marvel scheduling? Fill me in down below. While you're down there, please do all the YouTube things. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell notification so that you never miss a vid. Thanks so much for taking this entire day spent discussing comics with me. I always appreciate it, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye. I don't know why I hit the I so hard. Bye.